Hello, hello, welcome. Happy Saturday. It's June 12th, and we are here for the long-awaited Contrology Lab, exploring extensions in Pilates. I'm your host, Brand Ambassador Anna Kaban, and I'm so excited to be here because this event is a little bit different than our past events. Here in LA, we are in the yellow phase where we're almost completely open, so people can be in the same room if they're vaccinated. Our three presenters are actually going to be in the same beautiful studio coming to you live. So I'm really excited about that. Total twist for us here. But today we have three guests that are coming to you from Reformation Station Pilates Studio in LA. And they are Christina Pierson, the owner, Zareh Markarian, and Keion Moradi-Means. And they're going to be looking at back bending, looking at, sitting up straight, because so much of the past year has been over a desk, right? Over a computer, especially for instructors that have had to switch to Zoom. So we thought, let's explore how we can get a little more upright, how we can connect with our back sides, and how that could kind of unfold in our workout. So that will be the focus today. On top of that, we're going to be featuring the Contrology mat, which is exciting. You'll see my red mat. It's really pretty. And then we have the J Grimes Reformer. And of course, we have the arm chair. So get ready to check those all out. You can watch, you can join along. And of course, you'll have the recording to refer to later. So we will start out our workout with these three, but at the end, stay tuned because we also have our special guest. Say hi, J Grimes.
Hi, J Grimes.
Very good. You take direction very well.
I try.
So we couldn't be here without Jay. He's really been a great partner with us in recreating this equipment. Lots of guidance has come his way, and he's been at all of our events as a big supporter and a big part of the event. But really, the person with whom we could not have done this is the CEO of Balanced Body and nice guy, Ken Endelman. Where's Ken?
I'm here. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Zareh. Thank you, Keion, and especially thank you to Jay. So, and the team at Balanced Body for putting this on. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. So you'll see them at the end because we always come back for our Q&A at the end of the workshop portion of it. But I say we just get started, right, guys?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to start with Christina, and Christina is going to hit the reformer.
Hi, thanks, Anna, and thank you for having me here in the lab. I'm really excited to be here with you and Jay and Ken, and it's especially excited to work with extensions. So I thought I would start by talking a little bit about my history and relationship with extensions. I started doing gymnastics when I was pretty young, around 3.5, 4 years old, and I really can't remember a time when I couldn't do a back bend. So when I started practicing Pilates, about 20 years ago now today, it was quite a shock to find out that I didn't know as much as I thought about extensions. My low back was super flexible and my upper back was very tight. So while I could do the back bends, I wasn't doing them in a way that was healthy for my spine. And Pilates gave me this opportunity to backtrack and sort of reprogram. So start from the very beginning and work on opening my chest, getting a more evenly flexible spine. So today I thought I would kind of go backwards. I want to start with a bigger back bend extension exercise that I've been working on for a really long time. And then go back and do a series of exercises that have really helped me get there, at least in my body. So for this first exercise, or the exercise, is going to be the headstand with the straps. And if you're working out along with us at home today, I would ask to just watch this first demo, and just take a mental screenshot of my body positions and the movements. And then it'll be kind of fun, I think, to see if we can find them in the other exercises. So for this, yeah.
I was going
You
to
have
say, as
questions?
a reminder, I'm sorry, Christina, as a reminder to our guests here, please feel free at any time to write your questions in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen, and we'll address them towards the end or perhaps in the exercise if it makes sense. So thanks very much.
Okay, great. So for the first this first demo, I'm not going to talk. I'm just going to ask everyone to watch it. All right, so that was the headstand with the straps, and I'm just going to do a little rounding afterwards. It's always good to bend your back the other way after you've done especially a big back bend like that. If I was doing it in the regular reformer workout, there would be exercises that came afterwards that would help me with that. Great, so the first exercise that I'm going to do for the exercises leading up to that one is the coordination. So I've got 2 springs on and headrest down, and I'm ready to grab my handles. So this exercise, when I first started practicing Pilates, was one of the first exercises I learned, and it really taught me how to open my chest and connect to my back, my upper back at the same time. And one of the most important things was this idea that Jay always talks about, squeezing the juice out. So not just pushing down into the straps, but pushing out those last extra inches, pulling into your lowest abdominals. So I think when I first started doing this exercise, I would just go down with my arms. But really it's that reaching out and pushing into the handles, using the equipment to find your full potential in the exercise. Now let's do one more. Reaching long, open. So that exercise really taught me how to keep my chest and shoulders stable and connected to my upper back as I move my arms out into the straps and the handles. So the next exercise I'm going to do is the bull straps. And I'm going to do the first one in the series. I'm going to get the long box. So the box is really great because it gives you a lot of feedback about what position your body is in. So you can feel when your spine is straight. I'm going to anchor my pubic bone, lift up into my stomach, and I hold onto the straps with my thumb right on top. And I start by pushing down a little bit into the straps. That's going to help me connect to my shoulders and anchor the seat. I'm going to pull back. I'm going to come up into an extension. I'm going to find those coordination arms. So working into my upper back and then back to a long back as I come forward. So now when I pull back, I'm just reaching into the air. I don't have the mat to give me feedback like the coordination, but I'm trying to find those same muscles working as I did in the coordination. Starting to sweat. It's hard. I'm talking and working out. Okay, so the next one I'm going to do is the breath stroke. So I kind of think about this one as the pushing straps. This is the pulling straps you pull. And this one sort of taught me how to stay connected here while reaching my arms out. I think when I first started doing it, I kind of reached up this way, shrugging my shoulders. So when I do this breaststroke, I'm going to try keep the shoulders reaching down as I push out into the handles. You might not be able to see from that angle, but maybe Jay, you can tell me if I'm getting there. So just like the pull straps, I like doing the extension on the box because I have that feedback of where my body is. So I'm going to anchor my pubic bone. I'm going to squeeze my bottom and lift my stomach. I'm going to push out and I'm going to try to keep my arms straight for as long as I can. And then I open them out to the side. Connect my shoulders. So this exercise takes patience. If you rush to the open arms, you won't get as much power in your lift. You gotta wait and then out to the side. All right. How did I do, Jay?
Very well. Looks great.
Is that connected? Okay, good. Oh, I'm gonna do one more on the long box, the hamstring curls. So I get into it this way, cross my straps, and then I shorten them. Put the loops onto my feet and turn over onto my stomach. So again, using the box to help me find my spine position. I like to do it with my hands behind my back, so I have imbalance in my back, so I can actually feel if my two sides are working correctly. So I'm going to start off into an extension, and then I'm just going to try and keep it as I go. And I'm trying to connect to my seat, to my bottom, while staying connected to my low abdominals. And then I'll try one leg at a time. Oh, it's harder. All right, so that one's really teaching me how to stay connected to my seat and my low abdominals while I'm in that big extended position. You're starting to see how some of these exercises you can find them in the headstand with the straps. Okay, so this next one, I'm going to do the knee stretches, the second part of the knee stretches. And I'll just say this exercise is really hard for me. Even though it's probably one of the exercises I've been doing longest in Pilates, it's always those, the smaller exercises that can be more challenging. But this reformer really made a difference for me in this exercise. You want to try to get all 10 of your toes onto the carriage and then your feet all the way into the blocks. And there's a little space in this one, so your foot can fit right in. And that connection has become really important to me in this exercise. Just like I was, before using the box to find the position of my spine, I can tell, I get a pretty good idea if my spine is in the right position if my heels are connected. So I'm going to open my chest. I'm pushing my heels into the blocks as I go out and also as I come in. I'm pushing the heels of my hands into the foot bar to stay connected to my shoulders and keep my chin. And I find the more I do, the more I move in this one, it gets a little better. All right. And the last one I'm going to do right before I do the headstand with the straps again is the pelvic lift. So, I was on 2 springs for the knee stretches, and I'm going to add a spring. So I'm going to do 3 springs for the pelvic lift. I think some people can do 4, but I'm pretty light. Okay, so I don't have the straps anymore, but I'm going to try and pretend like I have the straps like I did in coordination. So I'm reaching out and down, and then I'm going to squeeze my seat, activate the backs of my legs. So like I found in the knee stretches, when I push down with my feet, it activates my bottom, my seat, and the backs of my legs. So I'm taking that, what I learned in the knee stretches here, pushing down with my feet into the bar, what I learned in the coordination and the pull straps, reaching out, not just down. And what I learned in the hamstring curls, how to keep my back stable as I curl my legs. All right, so hopefully you've seen some of those exercises. You can remember all the way back from when I did the headstand with the straps earlier. Maybe you saw some in there. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna get some water first. And as I do it again this time, see if you can see those exercises again. And I would say, if you're working out along with us at home today, if this is an exercise that you do all the time and it's part of your regular Pilates practice, you can do it along with me. But if it's not, I would recommend just still watching and wait until you have an instructor there to show you how to do it. Like I said, took me 20 years to get here, so this is a lot of work. I'm doing all those other exercises over and over for so many years. Okay, so I'm going to try to talk through this one. I'm getting out of breath already. All right, so I'm going to get my feet all the way onto the carriage, and just like I learned in the pelvic lift and the knee stretches, I need to really push down with my feet and connect into my seat and my hamstrings, because even though I'm going to be, on my head is not holding me up. It's my legs, my seat, my bottom, my stomach. There's barely any weight on my head. All right, so I'm going to pull into my low abdominals and connect into my shoulders. And I'm going to go out and down, just like my coordination arms, opening my chest. And I keep pushing out, even as I lift my arms up. I'm using my seat like crazy. I'm doing my hamstring curls, using my back, and using my center. And out and down, and slow abdominals in. I have a hard time remembering that sometimes. And down. I remember the first time I realized I needed to use my low abdominals when I was doing extensions. I was working out with Jay. I think I was doing the snake, and Jay sees everything, even though it doesn't seem like he is. He was telling me a story about, we're talking about modernism in Palm Springs, I think. And I was doing the snake, and I was thinking, oh, this is such a good stretch. And I think he even said that. And he just stopped his story and he looked at me and said, all right, now use your stomach. And I was like, oh, wait. I need to use my stomach when I'm bending backwards. But it was a revelation. But I love that Pilates. There's all these little aha moments, no matter how long you've been doing it. So thank you, Jay.
Christina, and actually Jay, there's a question here I wanted to ask you. 1 second. It had to do with when you were doing the pelvic lift, Christina. So you had your hips up higher than many people had learned it. And so the question was that a choice? And then also your headrest was up. So this person says it seems hard to avoid neck compression with the headrest up and the hips so high, or would that depend on the client? So if either of you want to speak to your position and also the headrest position.
So do you want to say something there, or should I?
Go ahead, Christina.
Okay. I find, that it depends on the client's body as far as how high your hips are. That's what feels and looks right for my body, but maybe Jay can correct me on that. And I don't know, I've always done it with the headrest up. That's just that's how I learned it. So I did learn that you can put it down if somebody has a neck issue, but I think, generally you have it up. I think as it gives you that feedback, because you want to keep the back of, the muscles even in the back of your neck and your upper back active when you're lifting your hips. And if the headrest is flat, I think it's harder. That's my feeling about it, but I could be wrong. What do you think, Jay?
No, I agree with everything you're saying. And actually, with the pelvic lift, there are tons of variations. The position of the feet, the number of springs, how high you go, headrest up. It all depends on the individual and what you're trying to accomplish. Why are you doing this exercise? Mm-hmm. And if you have a clear objective in why you're doing the exercise, that kind of tells you, and the body in front of you, that kind of tells you where it should be. Some people will go higher, some people not so high. It depends. I mean, as Christina said, initially she used to drop into her lower back. Well, if she's dropping into her lower back, I would say stop going so high, try to get down there and get it under control. But now she's able to control it, so she can go higher. But again, it's totally an individual thing. This exercise, it's so funny because everybody learns it a certain way. This is the exercise. There's got to be at least 200 different variations. When you consider all the possible foot positions, all the possible spring combinations with all the possible foot conditions. I mean, but this is something for teachers while you're waiting for that client who's late. Get down and try all the different positions. See how different it is. If I do this with 2 springs, if I do it with 1 spring, what's the difference? If I go a little higher, what's the difference? If I get a little lower, see how it feels in your own body, so that when you have a client in front of you, you can look at that body and see what it needs. And because you felt it in your body, then should I be on 2 springs? Should I be on 1 spring? Should I be on 4 springs? Should it be up? Should it be down? Should the feet be open? Should they be parallel? There's all these options. So there's no one pelvic lift that's absolutely right. It just depends on what you're after and what the person needs.
Thank you, Jay. Always so wise. We're going to transition to Zareh on the mat, but actually I just wanted to give a reminder to our friends out there to take screenshots, take photos, have fun, and please post them to social with the hashtag Contrology Crew. We would love that. Jay, anything more to share while they do their little set change?
Well, Christina has an ideal body for Pilates. Her size makes so much of this easy. The headstand with the straps.
I like that.
Having to get your feet up on the carriage. For her, she can do it without any problem because her legs are not that long. You get somebody with super long showgirl legs, they're going to have a hell of a time just trying to get their feet up there into that position. So it's not an exercise for everybody. They say Christina's got kind of an ideal Pilates body because of her size and her strength. She's amazingly strong for someone so small. but it's something to consider with that particular exercise. It's not going to be for everybody by any means. And Zareh's ready to go.
Sorry, I'm going to ask you to unmute. So I had muted you just as you guys were moving the equipment. If you can go ahead and unmute your, there we go.
Hi guys, how's it going?
Can I just interrupt you for 1 second, Zareh? Since we have this beautiful new Contrology mat and we have Ken Endelman who made it happen, Ken, do you want to speak to it a little bit before we get started?
Yeah, I'll talk a little about it. It's kind of a cool, really fun to sorry, I forgot how to talk. What's really nice about it is that we got a lot of requests for it during COVID because people were working out a lot at home and they really wanted to have a Pilates product or a nice piece at home where they could do the network properly and stuff. And so we worked on that kind of pretty quickly for us and got it up, quickly. We worked closely with Jay and Sandy and Karen to get it right. And we're really kind of excited about it because it just works really well and it's a little clever, right? It just holds together, it's magnetically held together. But the cool thing is it opens up and it's just the right density. It's perfect density and the handles are in the perfect position. So I'm excited about it. So thanks for the prompt.
All right, Zareh, you can take it away.
So hi, my name is Zareh, and I will be showing you some of my favorite extension exercises on the mat. So we'll be going over some of the stuff you'll do like in maybe your very first session or the things you'll teach people on their very first session and then how to advance them into some more challenging things. For me, kind of similar to Christina, that I always used to like dump into my lower back every time I would do anything because of my dance background. And it was always very difficult for me to be able to find a nice strong center. But I think thinking about your two-way stretch, moving from a strong center and lengthening in both directions really helped me figure out how I can move in an extension in a safe way for my spine and also get into those positions that I need to that are really beneficial for me. So we'll be using the Contrology mat, and this mat is a little different than previous mats I've used before, just because the denseness of the foam on this, it gives you a lot of feedback when you're lying down, whether on your back, side, or stomach. I really can feel if I'm sinking in or if I'm really pulling up and lifting from my center. And also we have handles on the edges, which we'll be using for some of the exercises. So you'll see those, okay? So let me take this off really quick. And so I'll be going in order of the mat exercises. Now, before you do any extension exercises in the mat, you do a lot of core strengthening, you do the hundreds, you do your roll-ups, and all of that really helps you really establish your nice strong center so that when you do extension, you're already established in that kind of position, okay? So hopefully before this, you have done some warm up, your back is warm, your stomach is ready to go, and we're gonna go right into swan. So I'm on my stomach. I have my shoulders in line with the handles, and I have my arms wide. I have all 5 fingers around the handle. I don't have my thumb hooked. They're all in the same position, and my elbows are pulling straight down and back. I'm engaging my back first before I do anything, and I lift my stomach in and up. When I'm doing my first swan, I lock everything down. I lengthen my head and feet in opposite directions, and I lift. And I might start here for my first one, and then I slowly release it back down. And don't think you have to go all the way up and then just crunch, because that's not what we're going for, because then you'll just, all you'll do is work in your lower back, and we don't want that. We want to create a nice long spine as we do this. So let's try again. Everything is engaged, stomach's pulling in, lengthen out, and go to wherever you or your client needs to go, and then go back down. Quality versus, I guess, quantity, but whatever. But we're gonna extend and lengthen, open the chest as much as we can, and then down. See, I'm not extending my arms even halfway, right? I'm trying to go wherever I need to go and where I need to work the most. And we'll do this just a few times, get our back warmed up, think about length. I reach to the top of my head and through my toes, keeping my center nice and pulled in. Get just a few more, you guys. Reach, reach, reach into the handles. And I'm getting a little bit bigger as I go. I feel more comfortable, more confident with my extension, my swan. I'll do one more. Good, just like that. And then if you ever need to stretch, if it's too much, Jay taught me a good one. I used to always just do child's pose, but we prefer reach the arms back, grab the heels, and then pull in and up, just to get a nice stretch in your spine. Good, okay. So we'll go back out to that same position. If you feel good with that one and you want to advance that exercise, the next one would be to do swan dive. So you're going to be up in your nice arch position, in your extension. You're going to keep the position the whole time. We don't want to see the spine change as you do this. You're going to release the arms, swing, come back up and catch, and then lower down. It's a little bit more dynamic when we actually do it. So it'll go lift, establish that position, swing, catch, swing, catch, swing, catch, swing, catch, and then lower back down. Good. And then we do another spine stretch after we finish that one. Be gentle to your back. But again, don't try not to get into that one too quick. Make sure you have a nice swan before attempting your swan dive. But that's a good way to challenge it. Make sure you have a nice strong swan is by attempting the swan dive and trying to keep that position as you rock back and forth. Okay, so the next one we're gonna get into is gonna be the single leg kick. So I have my palms down in front of me. I've seen also people do fists before, whatever I think works best for you. And then I have my elbows right underneath my shoulders and I'm pressing them into the floor to activate my back, get them working. My stomach is pulled in and up. I don't know if you can even tell. Let's see. I think this will help. Okay, so pull everything in and up. And again, I'm trying to find the same things, strong center and two-way stretch. I'm lengthening my upper body and chest up towards the ceiling. And then when I do my single leg kick, I reach one leg out and kick 1, 2, lengthen down. Reach 1, 2, down. And 1, 2, 1, 2. And not only does this help with extension in the spine, but it helps me with extension in my hips as well, which is gonna help the overall back bend exercises. And rest. Good. So that's the single leg kick. We're going into double next. Turn your head to the side. Take your hands behind your back and then let your elbows fall for a nice shoulder stretch. Both legs squeeze together. Same thing. Lengthen the legs out. 3 kicks. 1, 2, 3. And if you asked me a few years ago, I would have just given you one of these. Ugh, but we don't want that. Don't do that. Right? We don't want that. So you do your 3 kicks. Before you lift, you pull everything in and up and you lift, lift, lift. That's as far as I probably will go, because if I do any bigger than that, I will get into my lower back, and that is not what I want to do. We have to know where our boundaries are, and I think mine is there. But the whole time, you're attempting to pull the whole front of the body in and up and reach the arms back and letting the shoulders stretch too. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. And stretch one more time. So for me, and I'm sure other dancers have the same kind of tendencies, but to push to arch, and we want to kind of fight that urge to push into the mat with our stomachs and our ribs, and think lift in and up and extend from here. So that's kind of the goal when we do any of our extension stuff on our stomach. Now we're going to do a few on our back. And so we're going to go over high scissors and high bicycle, okay? Now, in this exercise, the goal is we're in a extension position with our back, but we don't wanna exaggerate that position. We wanna find a nice solid position with our back and not let it sink into that extension as we do all this stuff, okay? So we were just warming up our back and working our extension. Now we're gonna try and control it in the high scissors and high bicycle, okay? So you send your body over, you support the back, and you take your legs up straight to the ceiling. Now here, there's no extension yet, but we're getting ready for it when we do the bicycle and everything. So we do high scissors, we keep one leg reaching up and one leg going out. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. The whole time I'm thinking length and lift. Strong center, two-way stretch. When you're ready, then you take it to your bicycle. And even though my spine may be slightly extended, I'm trying to control that and not give in to that extension and arch into my back. And you want to reach your toes as much as you can to the floor. Good. After your last one, we reverse it. Sorry, I forgot to reverse. And then you may come down first and then transition to high bridge or shoulder bridge, or go from there into hybrid, into shoulder bridge. So if you were going to transition directly from here to our last one to shoulder bridge, turn the fingers out, reach the feet down, and carefully with control, find the mat. Now again here, you can see my hands are pushing my back into an extended position, and I'm trying to fight that feeling. I don't want to give in. So pull the belly button in, sew the ribs together, and plant the feet down to help establish a nice shoulder bridge position. If you extend one leg out, lift it up. 1, 2, and then reach. Let the hip extend and lengthen, and you bring it back up. 1, 2, pull everything in as you reach. 1, 2, slide it back in, other side. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and come down. Just like Christina did, it's always nice to stretch the back after something like that. Now, if you wanted to advance that one, you'd go into a nice high bridge, trying to keep all that in control. So you're gonna take your hands by your shoulders, press up into a bridge, and just stretch there. But pull everything in as much as you can, and then lower back down. Good. And stretch again. The last one I want to do that is like a extension exercise is going to be rocking. So you're going to go back onto your stomach. You're going to take your hands, grab your feet, the tops of your feet. And for this one, there was a while before I do it. I couldn't even do this exercise without getting into my low back. So I would stop at just the preparation. And it's good to do that a few times before you feel comfortable enough to go for the actual exercise. So from here, what you'd prepare into this is you would just do 3 pulls. 1, 2, 3, and then just press into your feet without lifting. And 1, 2, 3, press and just pull your belly button and stomach in. 1, 2, 3, pull in, 2, 3. And then, if that's okay, let's make it bigger. 1, 2, 3, press, lengthen, reach, and then down. 1, 2, 3, lengthen. Everything we worked on before is helping us here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's get into some rocking now, actually, okay? So you do your 3 pumps, lengthen, take it up, and then you rock. Release, stretch your back. Good. Oh, one fell out. So those for me are the extension exercises. Now there's one more I want to try too. That's going to help build strength for extension, and it's going to be chest, thigh stretch. So you have your bar, okay? Have a nice strong foundation with your legs. Take it up. Before you go back, strong center, ribs closed. You're reaching through the arms. You're pressing down through your knees and the feet, and you're gonna reach. No extension here. Just you're lengthening back, 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 and then you lift. And that's helping me control. Instead of just letting my hips and back arch, I'm controlling my movement the entire time. So that if you did want to ever add an extension to your thigh stretch, you can, but it's coming from a controlled place. Let's make it a little bit bigger if you feel comfortable, all the way, as much as you can. The goal always was to get the hips to the heels, but who knows if that'll happen today. And then I won't go that low again, but I will try and add an extension this time to see if we can open the chest a little bit more, but keeping the bottom half of my abdominals really engaged. I reach, I extend, and I come back up. Woo. And those are, I think, all the exercises that I wanted to go over today. But again, to be nice to your body, let's roll like a ball just a few times. Okay, so just grab your ankles, find your nice scoop position, and roll out your back. And when you're done, you're done. Ta-da!
Fantastic.
No, but yeah, those were all the ones I wanted to kind of go over today. And so those are some of the more basic ones that you'll do with your beginner clients and a way to challenge some of your more advanced clients and extensions on the mat. I have a lot of clients at the studio that we don't have a Contrology mat. We have maybe a Cadillac or just a yoga mat. And the feedback you get from the handles, they're set in a way where it puts your upper body in the right position for any kind of extension that you're using them for. So I really enjoy the handles on these mats rather than using a Cadillac, which would make you put your hands a little bit closer versus being wider, or on a mat where they're not, you can't use your whole hand and wrist. People will complain about like wrist stuff. So the handles really help for stuff like that. So I really enjoy that when I'm working with the Contrology mat.
Thank you, Zareh. I'd like to ask Jay if he wants to chime in on anything that was just done.
He made all that look so easy. And it's definitely not easy. It's anything but. But I loved the way you explained everything. I thought it was very thorough. It was very good, very safe. The one thing I wanted to say about the mat itself, the handles, which you love so much, handles are not to pull on, they're to push on. So you should always be reaching into the handles and not pulling on them. So that helps you to connect all the way down to your waist in the back.
Yeah. And I think that comes into play when you're doing any of the stuff on your back where roll over, people tend to really pull, and you want to really have some kind of energy going into them instead of pulling on them.
Absolutely, the exercises on your back, because that keeps you connected. That's your two-way stretch.
Mhm.
That's the wonderful thing.
And that's what really helped me with my extension, was like having a nice two-way stretch and thinking about lengthening. So lengthening into the handles and lengthening away from them at the same time really helps create that nice two-way stretch feeling for me.
Exactly. Yes, it looked very good.
Thank you. Well, let's transition to Keion. Keion's going to get on our Contrology Arm Chair. And Keion, I just wanted to say, if you could make sure the chair's pretty close, it's clearer for us here at home. Also, magnets in the mat. So Ken said this earlier, but in case you missed it, when you fold that mat in half, there are magnets that are holding it together, which is really cool. But Ken loves to do cool things with his equipment and find, clever ways to make things easier. So you'll see they'll fold in half and they'll just stick together. All right, so they're going to get the armchair set up. In the meantime, why don't Ken, Jay, if you want to chat amongst yourselves and share anything with our audience? Deep thought?
Hey, Jake, can I ask you a question?
Of course.
When Christina was working, and she basically was on her head, at what point do you know it's safe or unsafe? And at what point would you not or change the exercises?
Well, this is something you just have to develop as a teacher, knowing what it takes to do that, what kind of strength, and does this person have it? I mean, this is why we always start at the very beginning. Use your gut, as Joe said to me, and you've got to have strength and control from your center to begin with, and that's the starting point for everything. And then, I mean, obviously some exercises demand more strength and more control than others, but it's something you work on from day one, from the very, very beginning. I mean, the very first thing you do with the 100, working on getting this. So it's a matter of knowing, and then how you get in and out of there. You don't just roll up onto your head. You have to lift your head and place it down, so you're not putting pressure into it. It's just when I think Christina explained it very well when she said, I have very little weight on my head, even though it looks like it. It's not, because she was holding with everything else. And you lift the head and place it down, and you lift it, place it down to come out of it. Always safety first.
Well, thank you.
Okay, well, I think that Keion, you can take it away now. Your frame looks great. I think it gets you clearly. So let's look at the armchair and extension of the armchair.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Keion. Thank you for having me and for exploring arm extension on the armchair. Funny thing though, in the way of extension exercises when it comes to the armchair. But what I hope you'll take from this little segment is that, one, the armchair is essential to teaching Pilates as a system as it was intended. And two, that the armchair can be a really useful tool in building all of those foundation for doing healthy back extensions in your Pilates practice. So I'm just going to start by going over with a little of the anatomy of the armchair itself. So I'm going to stand up. We have this angled base, solid angled base. We have two positions for the back of the chair, and with a space block that can be moved to the most reclined, which I believe is what Joe Pilates had in his studio. Then we have these nice wooden handles, contoured wooden handles attached to what I think is the lightest springs in the house, attached to the frame of the chair. And the chair back actually also moves, which can be used to challenge your ability to coordinate on pretty much every exercise. Okay, so I'm going to go through some of my favorite exercises on the armchair that have helped me with back extension, because I'm not one of those beautiful movers you just saw. I'm actually very tight in the chest, tight in the lower back, and the armchair has really helped me to progress in my Pilates practice. So before we go through those exercises, I just want to make it clear that as a teacher, I would not give someone an armchair workout in place of, you know, a traditional Pilates session, which would comprise a flow component, followed by perhaps a selection of exercises that I identify that my client might need, which is where the armchair might come into play. Okay, so having a seat. Oh, I'm going to take my lab coat off.
Good idea.
I've got to take that lab coat off. Having a seat. I'm going to focus on connecting my back into the back of the chair. And you really have to use all the muscles of the trunk just to make those connections. And then as for the lower body, there are two positions that I might choose between. One of them would be this more, I think, familiar one, which is soles of the feet together, working really hard to press my heels into the base of the chair to make a connection to my lower back. My knees, I'm going to ensure that they're wide but not splayed. You want them active. Okay, another option I might choose would be to put the feet flat on the floor, using the floor as my apparatus. And I'll choose this one for right now, but I might go back and forth a little bit. Right now, I feel like my hips could use a little connection, something to evenly press into the chair itself. And so, working really hard right now. What if you're doing this at home with me? You should be feeling your stomach muscles, your back muscles, your lower body working really hard just to hold you in place against the chair. You could also be doing this against the wall. And I haven't added the handles until now, at which point I'm going to do just a really simple exercise. I'm going to reach my arms straight out and then bring it back in. So using the springs, the feedback from the springs helps me deepen the connection to my stomach, which is so essential for pretty much any exercise in the Pilates method. Have that support in the back of the chair that will tell me all about whether I'm lined up properly. I'm going to do one more, reaching out, reaching into the springs, and then controlling the springs back in. So now I'm going to try a little boxing. I'm going to take it slow though to begin with. So it's just I'm going to reach out, and I'll make a fist too. Reach out. As I reach out with one arm, I'm working to keep both shoulders in position against the back of the chair evenly. And then I'm going to go again on the right. Nice and slow to start. I'm going to do one more each side. Okay, so this exercise is actually done a lot more vigorously. So I'm going to give it a shot. The vigor helps to connect the center all the way down the line. So you just have to be a little more forceful, like you're actually boxing. All right. So I'm just going to go for it. And if you're following along, just really punch like there's someone right there, or like you're about to get punched in the stomach too. Whew. Okay, so if you're doing that at home, then you should be a little worn out. The next thing I'm going to do is the rowing series. I feel like that would be a good series to go through because we have it on the Reformer. It's we see it elsewhere in the system, and you can kind of differentiate between how that might feel on the Reformer, how the rowing series would feel on the Reformer versus the support for your back up against the back of the chair. So I'm going to start with rowing 3, and maybe I will play with a different foot position here. So I feel like my hips are a little more open, a little more compliant at this point. And I'm going to get my fingertips long again. Rowing 3 from the chest, I'm just going to go straight out. As I reach out, I'm really working hard to pull back in against the back of the chair. And then I'm going to take my arms down, still reaching into the springs, and up. And I'm going to go up as high as I possibly can without letting my ribs pop off the back of the chair and around. I'm gonna go one more time, or two more times actually. And Jay, if you see anything that could help me get a little more out of this exercise, please do let me know.
There was a question about the connection to the feet. Like, seemed like in the first position, there wasn't that much lift because the feet didn't seem as connected when they were on the floor. And
Right here.
yeah, that was just a question about, just said there's no lift
Okay.
because the feet are not connected to the chair.
Oh, right. Okay. So I'm
Yeah.
using the floor as an apparatus for that second position I chose. So
Mhm.
that gives me an opportunity to press the floor away and really anchor my sits bones down right here. You can still connect into the chair wide and get the same effect, but I am really tight in the left side. And so I kind of need to coax my body into it. But all I would say is just try it on your body, see what helps you lengthen through your lower back. Okay, I'm gonna go on to rowing 4. So we talked about the back of the chair moving and how that might add a little challenge to your ability to coordinate the exercise. So we'll see how it goes, right? So I'm just gonna go from the hips, reach out, the chair moves with me, and I have to reach into the springs as much as I can to find my stomach pulling in and segment my spine all the way up against the back of the chair, and then come down with control. Okay, so you see how the difference between doing this on the reformer versus up against the back of the chair might inform your body about places that you need to work a little deeper into. Mine would be for this, probably my middle back, but there's always more anyway. So this part coming down, this descent is really difficult. Okay, all right, so now I'm going to put my feet back in that first position, the traditional position with the soles of the feet together, heels up against the base of the chair. I'm gonna do the shaving exercise. And if any of my teacher friends wanna come out here and check my back, please feel welcome to. Because one of the great things about this chair as a teacher is you can look straight overhead your client's back. You can see exactly what's going on with the back, and you have access to my back to help me with that pesky upper back that just doesn't want to connect to the back of the chair. There it is. That was super helpful. Thank you. All right, I'm going to do one more of these. All right, and then I'm going to open my arms out wide for the hug. Reaching, keeping my arms nice and open, soft elbows. And I'm using the back of the chair to keep my back connection even and broad. The support and the information I get on the armchair is unprecedented. And one more thing about this exercise is, as you're opening out, you have to remember that in Pilates, we have to work both directions. So I'm not going to let the springs do the work. You can tell right away the difference between whether I'm working the springs or I'm letting those springs work me. Okay. So we did quite a few exercises against the back of the chair. I'm going to turn my orientation around to facing in the chair, facing toward the chair, and maybe I will shift like that. Nah. All right, and I'm going to bring that block upright, so you can kind of see the difference of the support I'll get for the front of my body versus having the angle be much bigger. I'm going to go into the chest expansion next. I'm going to come into a kneeling position, and I'm going to work really hard to connect the front of my body into the back of the chair. All right, my hips specifically working to keep them flush against the chair. And then I want to pitch my weight slightly forward, but not so much that I'm draping my ribs over the back of the chair. So I want to be fully engaged, just pulled in like crazy. All right, grabbing hold of my handles. I'm going to press my arms down and back as I grow tall, lifting my sternum and then looking one direction, the other direction, straight ahead, and then forward. I'm going to go right back into it. You want to make sure as you're pressing back that you have a down and back motion, not a straight back, because you're working the floor. You're working all the way up the line, all the way down the line. And all of us Pilates teachers are terrible at counting, and I think terrible, at least me, at remembering which side I started with first. So who knows? All right, I'm gonna go to the left and to the right, center and forward. Okay, another exercise I'm going to do is take my hands, I'm going to take them out to the sides. I'm going to work to keep the whole of my hand evenly pressing into these handles. And then I'm going to press just out so I can get the upper back muscles to comply a little bit more, wake them up a little bit. And as I'm pressing back, I want to make sure that I keep the handle level, because any kind of shift like this just takes it completely out of the back. All right, I'm still working to keep the front of my body connected to the chair. And this is a lot of work. One more time. Okay. Now, I thought it would be fun to go to that deeper angle and repeat my chest expansion exercise. So hopefully, with the chair completely upright, I used all of that information I received with the support on the front of my body. I'm going to try to match that here, but this time I have that support taken away, and I'm still working to find it. It was just like Zareh's mat exercise, the thigh stretch, when he was working kind of into nothing. So let's see how this goes. I'm not going to talk. Jay, do you see anything you want to talk about here or correct?
Not at the moment.
Okay. I have to say that the return on this exercise is way more difficult than the rest of the exercise, because you don't want the back of the chair to just bang back to the starting point. You've got to control it, right? So
Yeah, it's extremely difficult.
Sweating bullets over here. Okay. So I think hopefully you saw something informative. And I think that concludes my portion of the workout. I hope you learned a little bit about the chair and what it can do for your body. It has worked wonders for me, and this is a fantastic chair. So thank you.
Thank you, guys. That was awesome. So we have our three presenters that are going to get situated so that they can answer your questions. If you guys have additional questions out there, please put them right in the Q&A at the bottom of the screen. If you want to see this again, you know that you'll be getting a recording, and I just wanted to remind you, you should have that in about 48 hours. So let's get them set up. And in the meantime, I'm Jay. Ken, anything you want to share with us?
Yes. Can they bring the chair back for a second? Now, there's one thing, you can kill two birds with one stone.
Absolutely.
Keion, would you sit back down there, please? I'm talking about the foot position.
Mhm.
Now, I understand. I mean, I know Keion's body and I know that crazy hip and whatever, why she started with her feet parallel. But let's do the open position. Bottoms of your feet together. Now, it's not just ideally. I mean, this is hard because there's so much going on. You want to try to push your feet together. So everything is really, and that's very hard to keep that happening when everything else is going on. But ultimately, this is your crab on the mat that most people do so badly. I see them doing this. It's not about ankles and feet, the crab. It's about inner thighs. The shape of the leg should not change when you do the crab. So if you practice this here, pressing your feet together, you get all of that connecting and working. So when it comes time to do the crab, you can do the proper crab. Yeah?
Well, I have you there, Keion. There was a question for Jay about the arm position when you were doing the hug, etc. The elbows, the position of the elbows.
Oh, I love elbows. Thank you. And I pick on elbows all the time. Keion can tell you that. Zareh can tell you that. The hug position, start with the arms out. Now, the proper position actually is just very natural. Palms should be facing forward. You should feel your upper back. It all has to come from back there. Your arm is an extension of your back. And as one of my students once said, and I love this, put your shoulder blades in your back pockets. Mm-hmm. So put your shoulder blades in your back pockets. Feel your whole back. The arm should be long and relaxed. And it's not locking the elbow. It's the worst thing you can do. So just keep it long and relaxed. And the whole thing just comes together very easy from the back. Don't worry about changing the shape of the arm. The shape should stay the same the entire time. And it moves from the back. So separate the shoulder blades, pinch the shoulder blades together, keeping the neck long, your shoulder blades in your back pocket, ribs in, pushing your feet together so that everything is connected and working. But it's just an easy, natural position. And if the palms are facing forward, the elbows are basically going to be facing back. Okay? Thank you for asking that.
Perfect. All right, now let's have our Q&A, folks. So it's safe to say, Jay, like soft elbows.
Soft elbows, yes. And just long. Mm-hmm. There should always be energy flowing. You know, like I said, you see sparks coming out of your fingertips.
Hear us okay?
And there they are.
Can you hear us okay?
Yes. You look like you're waiting for your grades.
Yeah. I feel like a resident, you know, when you go to the hospital, we have like 3 residents standing around with the actual doctor.
Great. Okay, my friends, well, we're going to wait for questions to come from the audience. Are there any questions out there? Those of you at home, please drop them in the Q&A little button at the bottom of your screen. In the interim, anything that our presenters want to share, they thought of now, maybe an afterthought from your segment, feel free to share that now.
No? Ken's question to Jay about like, when do you know if you're ready to do the headstand? And For me, once I was able to really connect to my feet, my bottom, and the backs of my legs in those other exercises, in the hamstring curls and the pelvic lift. When I first started doing those exercises, I felt my hamstrings, but I never felt my bottom working, my feet working. And I think for me at least, like that was the piece that I needed to support my back when I started doing that. So just a testimonial to when I felt I was ready to do that.
I wonder if we could actually talk about when you would put the back of the chair completely upright, Jay. Just tightness in the chest and shoulders. Too tight. We don't want to make them too comfortable. That's kind of why I brought up that point.
Yeah, well, again, the chair that I learned on, I didn't have that option. It was back and that was it. So it was, for some things, for some people, a little more challenging. But it's like everything else, it's a matter of the person who's doing the exercising. What are they capable of? What do they need? And you go from there. I mean, again, Joe designed this whole method in such a way, if you just kind of follow his directions, A, B, C, D, don't go A, B, Z, which I see teachers doing. They don't give people a foundation. If you give them a foundation, and with Joe, when you started, first lesson, a handful of exercises on the reformer, a handful of exercises on the mat, a few other things for you, for your particular needs, go home, come back. You did exactly the same exercises the next time. The third time, you did exactly the same exercises. The fourth time, nothing was added. And then by about maybe the fifth or sixth time, you'd come in and he would say, start, and you'd walk away from you. Because from day one, you were trained to be independent. And he didn't correct, just move, move, move. And all of a sudden, after a while, through the movement, you suddenly started discovering you actually had some muscles. And because you were doing exactly the same exercises, the brain got to work out, the body got to work out, you started to understand. The whole thing started to mean something. And then when he would add something, you already had the foundation. So you knew instinctively, your body knew what to do. And you progressively getting stronger and stronger and more flexible and all of these things. So that by the time you got to doing some of these things like the headstand with the strap, you were ready. Because you didn't get to that until you had gone through all of these steps along the way. And that's what teachers don't do now. They want to show off so much how much they know. They want to talk anatomy forever. And it's like, just get the person moving and it will happen. I keep going back to my thing. How do you teach a child to swing on the playground? You don't give them a lecture on anatomy and aerodynamics. You put them down, you say, hold on, and you push. And it's through the movement. All of a sudden, the kid's feeling something. And through the movement, he learns. And Pilates is exactly the same way. You can't talk it into somebody, but there's got to be a logical progression. And they have to have a foundation. And if they have it, it's wonderful. I mean, you all have heard me talk about the student I have, that he's so damn smart, it's frightening. But with him, if I gave him, when he started, if I give him a new exercise, I just explained the exercise and you could see his mind working. He was immediately relating it to what he already knew. And he would say, oh, so it's like. Yes, it's like. And he could do it. I mean, it wasn't brilliant and perfect the first time, but without ever having seen it, he could do it. Because he was prepared for it. He had the foundation. And that's the answer to all of it, really.
There's a
Anderson?
question, oh, excuse me. There's a question for, I think this is a Ken question. I believe I know the answer, but I'd like to ask you, can the mat be purchased in Spain from the distributor?
Yes, it can. Yeah. It may not be in stock, so you may need to order it and bring it in, but it can definitely be done.
From any of our distributors for that matter, correct? Anywhere in the world, they will get the mat for you or whatever you'd like.
It takes,
Great.
one thing to understand is that if it's not in stock, and a lot of things aren't, because you need to keep stuff in stock that they know can sell pretty quickly. It usually takes an order time, and it goes on by phone. It could take 4 to 6 weeks to get there. So if you want one for a deadline, order ahead.
Exactly. Another question about the exercises in general. Let me just scroll up. Can these movements be done by people with scoliosis?
I think that's going to depend on the degree of scoliosis. I mean, again, it's back to the individual. I know people with scoliosis that can do all of this stuff, and there are other people who, it just depends on the degree of scoliosis and the rest of their body in general. So it's another one of those maybe yes, maybe no things.
Yeah,
Another
I have
question.
a little
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say I have a little bit of scoliosis, and I can do it because it's pretty small, and especially like the hamstring curls, the one leg one, where I can feel my back. That one actually helps me a lot because I can feel when my weak side is starting to work. So that's actually helped me my scoliosis. But like Jay said, it's not for everybody. It depends.
Question for Jay, please. The person says, do you move without correcting or emphasizing? Just let them move?
Yeah, never anything dangerous. I mean, there's a big distinction. You never let anybody do anything dangerous. But they have to move in order to find things in their body. It's the movement that changes the body. And again, never, ever, ever let them do anything dangerous. It's going to be bad. Just grin and bear it. You're going to see a lot of bad. Get used to it. We were all bad when we started. Give them a break. We were all bad when we started. So, and some of us still are. I mean, so you don't let them do anything dangerous. It may not be pretty, but they're moving. They're feeling something. That's the point. That was Joe's whole thing. The movement changes the body. And again, with the kid on the swing, you give him you say, hold on, and you push, and you stay close by. You're there to protect him if he needs it. You're not going to let him get crazy. If he suddenly starts doing weird, crazy things, you're going to stop it. Well, same thing. But it's the movement that's going to change the body. It's the movement that's going to get them to start feeling things. And I mean, I was, 2 or 3 months going to Pilates before I ever got my first correction. And it was use your gut. I still remember it. So I know it's hard. A lot of teachers now, because of the way you're trained, the pick, and all the anatomy and all the. I never once heard an anatomy term from Joe or Clara Pilates. Never did they use anatomy terms. They hardly spoke at all. Actually, Clara loved to poke. So people have got to find Pilates in their own body. You can't really teach them. They have to find it, and they find it because you're giving them the right exercises for their body. You give them the exercises they need in order to discover these things, to find out, oh my God, I do have abdominal muscles. Oh, I can do a back bend. I can, so again, the whole thing is a progression, and it's keeping that in mind that you start wherever you are. I mean, if you're an Olympic athlete, you're starting in a different place than an 80-year-old lady with a hip replacement, obviously. But ultimately, you're still going to do the same exercises. It's just a matter of degree and who's going to do what first. I mean, obviously, the Olympic athlete will probably progress faster than the 80-year-old lady with a hip replacement, but it's still going to be the movement. And it's still going to be that progression through things that gets you there. So I love what Christina did, starting with things that, you see her doing the what do you call that? The coordination. You think, what does that have to do with the back bend? She's lying there on her back. She's completely supported. But the way she explained it, the way she showed the progression of going from lying on your back to doing that big back bend with the straps, that's the entire Pilates method. That's the way it works. You start with what seems like very basic things, and then they suddenly start to grow. And as you get them in your body, it all starts to make more sense to you. But it's got to make sense to you, not to me. So my telling you is not going to do anything. You've got to find it. You've got to feel it. You've got to experience it. And that's the big secret of Pilates.
So Jay, I have something that just actually segues very well. Of course, I've now lost sight of it, but it had to do with an assumption or a myth that classical Pilates was originally developed and meant for healthy, strong, and fully capable bodies exclusively. It sounds like no, because you just said the 80-year-old woman with a bad hip.
No, I mean, Joe, the whole point of Joe's goal with this work was not to keep people in the gym all day. He didn't want you in the gym. Mm-hmm. He wanted you to develop a body that you could go out and live a vibrant life, whatever it is you like to do. I mean, if you're a ballet dancer, do you like to bowl? Do you like to play badminton? Do you like to climb trees? Do you like to run around Central Park? Whatever it is, he wanted you to be able to do it with zest and vigor. And I like to think of it like, an instrument. If you have a violin, the instrument is very carefully made. And once it's made, and if it's properly tuned and everything is in order, you can play whatever you want on it. The violin doesn't care. It only works one way. You run a bow over a string, and by where you place your finger on the string to adjust the length of the spring, that determines the sound. So that's the only way the violin works. It doesn't care what you're playing. The piano doesn't care what you're playing, if it's boogie woogie or if it's Bach. The piano works exactly the same.